Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats and kittens, welcome back to the podcast. Thank you. Thank you. This is for you guys for still watching my videos, and I do appreciate it. A lot of stuff is changing. A lot of stuff in 2023 is definitely going to change. Now, one of the things that hasn't changed is yield farming. Yield farming. And if you're watching this channel, odds are good you are a yield farmer. So, a lot of it is starting to change in APRs. These things are really starting to get crushed depending on where you are putting them. Now, 2021, 2022 was a heyday for us, man. I'm sorry, babe. We made Dosh. And a lot of folks ended up getting stuck just rolling that stuff straight back in. And that's great. It gets you excited about the passive income, all that other kind of stuff. But it's not really the way that I do it. For the most part, I'm part of the cause. I'm part of the problem, and I just see the market a little bit differently. Now, I yield farm so that I can. I want to put the money to work, of course, but I yield farm so that I can harvest. Harvest currency and put it into my other long term projects. And I've been continuing to do that. Nothing's changed. I haven't changed my mind. But the APRs that I've been getting, where in my primary house, which has been Osmosis, are really starting to bottom out. It's not concerning a little bit, but I have entirely too much bonded in there to be getting the returns that I'm getting. So, as usual, it's time to, like I do, as usual, it's time to look elsewhere. So, we're going to kind of run through it here a little bit. And this is, I don't think it's any information you guys, I haven't ever shown you before, but I want to give you a little bit more context. But we're going to start with, we're going to actually start with the Dow Jones. Something unusual is happening in the Dow. It's actually up. Now, where it starts in the morning and where it ends up are usually wildly different things. But, it's always nice to see something positive. And we haven't been getting a whole hell of a lot of that lately. The CPI for December is going to be coming out, I think, next week. And yeah, and then we get little pocket Napoleon. Powell is going to get up there and tell us if he's going to just continue to smack us around. And I understand that this is not hip, cool, crypto, any of those things, but see, it really is. So I think it's fair for me to mention it. But we've also been getting a nice little bump over here on the mighty Bitcoin, and whether you're in it or not, if you're in crypto, you're in Bitcoin. You're adopted. So it's always nice to see that number move in a little bit. It's going to affect everything else, and yay for us. But I do want to come over because this is kind of an Osmo video. They, believe it or not, did the right thing. They did. Osmo, with the amount of action that was happening over on Osmosis, it was inflating itself just to dust. And they had to do it. They had to cut the APRs. And considering that this was one of my big pools, is not this is the YouTube wallet. Considering that this was always one of my big pools and I was catching anywhere from 70, 80, 90% APR on it, for it to go down to 27 is kind of a nut punch. I'm still earning. I am still getting more, have more Osmo tomorrow than I did today, and that's all great. But for the amount of risk that I'm taking, that APR, these APRs do not seem, they're not working for me anymore, not as much as they used to. So I'm pulling a lot of this. Uh, the question now is where to land it, and that's kind of the issue. So I have three different things in mind. I'm not going to show them all. We'll get into them on the live stream, but interestingly, I feel silly even mentioning this one, but I'm going to anyway. Do you guys remember Ori? We talked about this one. Now, we talked about this quite a while ago. This is the Ori Dex. Uh, there's approximately $2 million worth of liquidity locked on this. Now, as far as development and them changing the world, Ori is not going to do that. All right. This thing is basically a big circular firing squad with what they have left in. So they continue to feed it. They continue to feed these pools because I mean, look at this. These are just like silly high APRs. So they do continue to feed the pools, but it's just there's so little usage on this thing, and it just kind of sits there that. it that I think that that's how more or less how they're able to support it. Somebody's making a living on this, but this is not going to be something that's absolutely going to blow it out. But there are two good pools on here. I thought I should at least mention one, of course, being Arai Osmo at 122%. Nice number. Not much liquidity in there, man. That thing is sitting there. If you, I don't like to jump into a pool and be more than 10% of it. So it's tough for me to move any kind of meaningful volume in there. There just isn't any. But the other pool that is worth mentioning is Arai Atom. Now, Arai, I'm going to call it Arai. I don't care what it's actually called. They did something kind of neat over the last little 1,000 token. They did something really neat over the last 180 days. And that's what they did that was pretty neat over the last 6 months. You guys remember the tail end of 2022. So for this thing to be anywhere near where it was 6 months ago is pretty damn heroic. And if you had been in this token and just letting it hover away on a rye, you've been doing okay with it. You really have. But this also comes with a caveat. I want to make sure that I'm out there in front of this one. They are not doing anything spectacular here. This is not the one. This isn't the one that's going to change the DeFi, bring in the new era of yield farming. This is not the one. But the percentages are not bad. They are not terrible. So, you know what? They get both a round of applause for being able to actually maintain their own price action over this last 6 months. But they also get one of these because yikes. That's where I'm gonna kind of leave that one. Yikes. But I think the gold pool, the gold standard of the pools that are available over here. Uh, Probably this one right here. I like to pair with Atom. I like to pair anything with Atom, but I want the token that I'm pairing with Atom to be as stable as possible. So that's not a bad number. And there's a good amount of liquidity in there, so it's not going to go poof overnight. And probably this one right here, just because the price action on the token hasn't been terrible, and I like to pair with stables. So neither of those are terrible investments. I'm not telling you to go into this one. As a matter of fact, I would probably lean away from it, but I'm not here to pass judgment on what you invest on. I am just here to point it out. So that one is really, really interesting. And the other one, believe it or not, we're going to be going back to diffusion. I hate to even mention this because Evmos, yikes. I mean, you want to talk about reality just hitting you, making you go a big rubbery one. That would be the Evmos. Let's take a look at Evmos over the last 180 days. Yup, that's that ain't happy. Uh, they had a weird year. I'm just going to put it there. There was a lot of hype, hyperinflationary token. I mean, just hyperinflationary. They just give this stuff away. Uh, they made some OTs. They made some deals. They took some additional VC funding. They did some stuff that they probably shouldn't have. And there's the result. So you're talking about a token over the last year that was holding more or less between $1.50 and $2.50. I mean, over the entire year, it had a real nice run, and then people just got sick of it, and boom, there you go, 35 cents. Reality kicks in, goes a big rubbery one, and that's where we end up. But for those who do like to live dangerously, that's not a terrible place to live dangerously. You're going to be pairing up everything with Evmos. Everything over here is paired up with Evmos. There are some really, really decent pairings. Wrap Bitcoin, Axlar USDC. There's a good die pool. That's probably between this one and that one are probably the picks of the litter. But for those of you who are still comfortable swimming in these FMOS waters, man. Look, that's not a bad place to land it. Now, you're going to have to go through MetaMask. We have step-by-step videos for anybody who's curious about it, but we literally show you step-by-step how to do it, and there you go. So, and I was going to move more in. I was because I have some FMOS sitting there doing nothing, and I was going to start pushing some in just to have some fun with it. But then it always brings me back to that little pool right there. Uh, this is in a unique spot right now, meaning that the APR on that particular little pool on a token that I'm long on just trumps everything else. 285% APR on this particular pool, which I am long on. It trumps anything that I'm going to get on Arai. It trumps anything that I'm going to get over on Diffusion. It trumps Kajira. It trumps all of my other ones. Now, I'm still in them because you got to diversify, but it's tough justifying pushing something out like that where you are collecting that kind of APR on a token that you're long on. So yeah, it's troubling, but we'll endure. We'll endure. So that's all I got on this one. I promised that I'd bring this out because I was getting a lot of questions on this. What are you doing with your Osmo? What are you doing with your Osmo? These are some of the things that I'm doing with my Osmo. You asked, I answered. There you are. We'll be getting into a lot more of this on the live stream tonight, so I hope you guys can join us, 1800 Central. Scott at thepodcast.com. Questions, comments, or concerns. I answer any and all, and it makes me feel special. And until next time, please stay safe. Please be smart with your money. Cheers.